broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello and welcome to UFC on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Daria Berenato, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, as always, Mr. George Hermoza and Mr. J Tan.
No, it is you that is lovely.
Yeah, we're kind of a couple of ugly schmugs here.
George, thank you. But you guys as a couple are really the lovely ones.
Oh, it's you. You caught me staring at you.
No
like
hate.
I did in the trailer. I was like, why is he staring at me? Is there something on my head? Anyway, guys, we are here with two special guests today, Mr. Johny Robles and Mr. Altair Alancar. Was that good?
Yep.
Right on. These two guys are RFA fighters. RFA, as you know, is a feeder system directly to the UFC. 32 guys from RFA have gone directly to the UFC. So that's the journey for these guys in the near future. They fought
guys in the past like Alan Jouban,
Christos Giagos,
our guy Brian T-City Ortega.
Yep. Guys we've had on this show.
Those are the ones we've had on the show. What do we got? 28 to go now, right?
Yes, yes, 28 to go. These are two that are going to be future UFC stars. We're catching them on the cusp of that, and they had great fights on Friday night. We'll talk about that later, and as well as your career. But first, we have to break down some extremely exciting fights. UFC 181 delivered.
Packed show, right?
Oh my God! I mean, anytime you have two title fights on one card, you know it's going to be a big night. But these fights delivered. We had Lawler versus Hendricks 2, which was super exciting, and we had Anthony Pettis versus Gilbert Melendez.
Yep, one of the two culminations for this Ultimate Fighter 20 that we've been covering.
Yes.
Past, what, 2.5 months? 2.5, 3 months?
Yeah, they will be wrapping next week.
Yeah. Both matches, a whole lot to talk about with those, and as well as a really exciting undercard that had some. You had some strong flash finishes, plenty of stuff, but several rounds as well. People got their action in. This is probably I'd have to go back and look, but this is certainly a top contender for show of the year, I would think.
Yeah, we say that a lot, but this really is one of them.
And this, if nothing else, the UFC is ending the year on a really strong note.
With a bang, definitely. Yeah. The next couple cards are just outstanding. George, what did you think? Was there some controversy with the decisions?
I don't think so. I mean, I know some people disagree with some of the main event, but I scored it the way that it should have been scored. Although there was one, we'll go into it a little bit later, of course, but there was that second round, I would not have given it to Lawler, but again.
Well, let's run through the results.
Let's run through the results, and then we'll get the couch's opinion as well. At the bottom of the main card, we had Tony Ferguson, who is a 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, Ultimate Fighter 13 winner, versus Abel.
Abel.
Trujillo.
Trujillo.
We'll go with
that. I do want to say, when I was watching that fight, I was like, I wish he was a heavyweight so he can go up against Cain Velasquez. Wait for it.
Cain versus Abel.
I get it. Is Abel a Black Zillion? They said out of Boca Raton, Florida, so I assume Black Zillion since he was an American top team.
The last I heard he was.
Yeah. Okay. We definitely saw that. He was tough, but Tony won rear naked choke in round 2. You have Black Zillion versus 10th Planet. That's an interesting dynamic. Did you guys watch all the fights, or?
Sure did.
Sure did.
He got it done again. Tony's he's tough and seems to deliver every time.
Do you guys know him from being SoCal locals? Have you trained with him or not yet? No.
Not necessarily know him, but it's a small community, especially in Southern California.
Definitely.
So you have your eye on people.
Yeah, he's exciting to watch. I always love Tony Ferguson because he's one of those guys that not only has extremely high-level jiu-jitsu and a ground game, but his stand-up's awesome, and he's really aggressive. So I love watching him. Yeah. Next, we had a comeback kid, Todd Duffee, who was in the UFC 2 years ago. He took a 2-year leave. He had a bunch of injuries and other issues, and now he's back with a bang against Anthony Hamilton. Todd Duffee won via KO in round 1.
Yep, 33 seconds.
I remember, if ever you watch, I think it's UFC, I'm going to look it up and I'm going to cheat, UFC, I want to say 102. Look it up. Todd Duffee versus Tim Hague.
Yeah.
That fight was literally 7 seconds long.
Yeah.
That one's your first homework assignment of the night. That one's worth looking up.
I remember watching the fight yesterday.
Won't take you too long either.
And I'm watching Todd Duffee. I'm like, man, this fight's going a lot longer. Oh, wait, never mind. That's what I got.
He's definitely known to be a finisher. Johnny, you remember that KO?
Yeah, well, he's had a hype train behind him for a while, especially him coming into the UFC.
Right.
Then he kind of, not disappeared, but, he had his little stumbles, and, he delivered the other night.
He's back.
Yeah.
He's definitely back.
That's a big boy, and he hits hard.
He has, what I was saying in the trailer, he has such a nice build for that weight class. A lot of the guys, maybe are shorter and heavier, but he's lean and tall and mean.
Yeah.
And he has a nice reach. Next we have Travis Hapa Browne versus Brendan Big Brown Schaub. Why do they call him Big Brown? Do you guys know? No one knows?
The story is out there. I have not looked it up or know the backstory.
Maybe we don't want to know.
I think it has something to do. Jeez, I hope that's not the case.
Just saying.
Something to do with his podcast, I believe. I think it came up. One of the fans or listeners from his own podcast, Fighter and the Kid.
We'll have to tune in to find out.
Some inside joke. Or
Wikipedia
something.
is not telling me.
Oh.
Well, then the story's not out there.
That means it can't be true if it's not on the internet.
You're right. Okay, so Travis Browne won via TKO in round 1. He does not lose that ability to knock guys out. I mean, Travis Browne is someone that always delivers for me. I think they had about the same reach, so I don't think it was that, but I think he utilized his reach better than Brandon Schaub.
He used his reach better. It seems like he's learning how to use it, as opposed to eating a few to land a bunch, like we saw in his Hapa's fight against Overeem previously, or Bigfoot Silva. It's funny because these two, between the Duffee Hamilton match and Hapa and Big Brown back to back, kind of looked, in some ways similar matches. The victor came out using their reach really well, landed and got the win early. Yeah,
something to speak about is Travis Browne was throwing Schaub around like a rag doll. Talk about looking at builds. I mean, you wouldn't think there was a huge strength difference, but he had him in the clinch at one point. He was just throwing his head to the ground. I mean, it really made Schaub look not the greatest. What did you think, George?
The name is slipping my mind. Edwin, Ronda's coach.
Edmund.
Yeah.
Edmund Taverdian.
Yeah, so Travis Browne started training with him, and he said it makes no. He said it himself. This is his words. No disrespect to my previous coaches, but training with Edmund just kind of gives me a whole new visual on fighting and just give him an extra boost on what he needed. So
Edmund's coaching speaks volumes.
Yeah, so I kind of want to see this Travis Browne maybe go up against Fabricio Verdun, who he lost on his last fight. So who knows?
That's a possibility. You have the rankings in front of you, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, it's not accurate, but...
Well, and for a big guy, Travis is such a athlete.
Yeah.
Basketball, collegiate basketball background, right?
I don't know it's necessarily his background, but, I mean, you look at the way he moves, he doesn't move like big guys his size.
Right.
He moves like some of the smaller weight classes, and he's very athletic, very agile, and, it's kind of cool to see a guy that big just move his body around and do some of the things he does.
Yeah, it's not like watching your slug heavyweights, roll on each other, hold each other. Travis Browne's very entertaining to watch, and that's coming from me.
And paired up with his confidence, too.
Yeah, when he won the fight, they were like, how do you... He's like, this is what I do to people. What are you talking about? This is what I do.
I mean, I don't think he's ready for the next title shot, but if they don't give the winner of Dos Santos versus Stipe Miocic, I think that too should fight Travis Browne.
Yeah.
The winner of that should fight Travis Browne.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they don't give that person the
short of that, though, I don't know what else you do with Browne for a minute.
Yeah. He's ranked number 3, I believe. I mean, Dos Santos, I believe, is number 1. Or number 2. Coach Kane and Fabricio, the top 2. So there really nothing else really makes sense.
That weight class is kind of in like a holding spot right now until we see everything, unfold with them.
Maybe Travis Browne versus Mark Hunt. Everybody's favorite, Mark Hunt.
Everybody's favorite.
Most people's favorite.
Then we have Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Gilbert Melendez. This was the happy ending to a season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter. They were the coaches of the 115 strawweight division of the ladies. I was excited for this. The season didn't really hype up their fight as much as it does the ladies' fights coming up next week. But nonetheless, the fight delivered and it gave us what we were expecting. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Not what I was expecting. I figured that they would go the distance. I thought this was going to be a drawn-out war going quite a while.
Especially Melendez, who's pretty much known for his cardio. That guy can just go and he can fight.
And go.
So Pettis caught Melendez in a submission early in round 2, midway through. the first round,
a guillotine, no less.
Yeah, guillotine. Which you would think that Gil is very familiar with with catching and with avoiding.
They were saying here's a guy who trains with Roger Gracie. No, I'm sorry, Cesar Gracie.
Cesar, yeah.
With the Diaz brothers, with Jake Shields. So anybody who can submit Melendez, and I say it all the time, if you can do something that nobody else can do, that's pretty impressive. So for somebody to finish, not the first time Melendez has lost, but I think it's the first time he got finished. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Somebody like Anthony Pettis.
Anthony Pettis is known for his taekwondo and his stand-up and his amazing kicks, but to finish a wrestler like Gilbert Melendez via guillotine of all things.
Yeah. But that said, Pettis also caught Ben Henderson out of nowhere with that ridiculous armbar from last year or earlier this year, I think.
It was August, I believe.
Was it August?
Oh, no. For the title? Yeah, that was August of last year.
Because I was there.
August of last year. Okay, I thought we missed it. This is August. I liked Gil's strategy in the first round. I gave him the first one. He was pressuring Pettis against the cage. Wasn't giving him any room for any kicks or fancy spinning stuff off of the cage, and just grinded him. Good striking there and takedown pressure. But I think in that. In that strategy in the second round, he got caught. I think he was a little bit out of position. He kind of fell to his knees there when he was shooting, and that's when Anthony saw the opening to grab the neck. That's what struck me as anyway.
Right.
It really surprised me with that strategy of coming out like that and grinding and putting him against a cage and trying to take him down. I really thought they were going to strike more.
Really?
Yes, because you've seen Melendez fight Sanchez.
Yeah,
saw that fight.
Of course.
True.
So at some point, I really thought they were going to strike.
I think a lot of that. I mean, I agree with you, but I think a lot of it was Diego just kind of with his style.
Oh yeah.
And he would just kind of Diego very known to just bite down on his mouthpiece and just go all
Come
out.
forward, and you have no choice but to go with it.
Yeah. So I was expecting. I did see a tiny glimpse of that you were mentioning. I thought they were going to go balls to the wall, but then you get Pettis who kind of just unbelievable with his striking, just out of nowhere.
I think a guy like Gilbert Melendez
and it kind of rocks Melendez a few times, just kind of gets him out of his zone. Yeah.
He's like, okay, I like this. I'm feeling it. We're brawling. It's good. And then you get one of those up kicks from Anthony Pettis or one of those fancy head kicks. And you're like, okay, I'll go back to my wrestling. You know what I mean? It's hard to stand with a guy like Anthony Pettis, I would imagine. But it's interesting. We've seen this time and time again. A high class world wrestler versus a high class striker. And you see how, it's the beginning of mixed martial arts. What art is better than the other? But I really saw how Anthony Pettis didn't let the grinding and the wrestling stop him, which it does to a lot of people. Either it takes away their cardio, so their stand-up's not as effective, or not as voluminous. But it didn't. Pettis still maintained the playing board even with his back on the cage. He turned it around and he used his stand-up.
Stuck with his game plan. Didn't get flustered or anything. And when he saw the opening, he ran.
He definitely grabbed it.
Ran to it.
I'm not gonna automatically start comparing Pettis to Anderson Silva, but
you are.
No. But I'm saying, because the thing about Anderson Silva was, the thing that made him so great was he made the impossible possible. You would watch him fight, you'd be like, I cannot believe that there's anybody that can do this.
Right.
I'm trying to look that way at Pettis.
That's true.
The way he just kind of comes up with the kicks or the Showtime kick,
finishes
or making
out of the blue.
Submit that you didn't think were submittable.
Right.
So that's kind of I know it's still a little early, but if this is the Pettis he's only 27.
He's 27. He just turned 27.
Yeah, exactly.
But all that being said, that's what I like about him being a champion. Everybody asks, who do you want to win, Gilbert or Anthony? I would have been happy either way. I like Pettis as a champion because he's marketable. He's not flashy, but exciting, or whatever you want to call it. But it's exciting to watch him fight. And like you said, he was kind of being pressured. Gilbert had a great game plan at the very beginning, and he adapted. And even though he was still trying to grind him out and wrestle, he never got flustered, stuck with it, and found ways to get those punches. He stuck with his game plan, and that's what a champion does. He finds ways in the cage to adapt, get the job done, and and he did. If Gilbert would have won, I would have been happy too. He's durable. He's a veteran. He not to say deserves it, but he's worked hard. He deserves it just as much as anybody else. So it would have been good to see him win. I wouldn't have been disappointed. But that's what I like about Anthony is he delivers and he makes a great champion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's some champions, or there has been in the past, where you're like, yeah, but if he went up against a guy like this, I don't know how he would do. Anthony Pettis is not that guy.
No.
I personally have seen him tested. We've seen him tested in all waters and all walks of life. He's fought the best fighters in each scenario, the best wrestler, the best striker, the guy that brawls, you know what I mean? And I've really seen him go toe-to-toe with all of those guys and still hold his own and be the champion.
He's not afraid to go there, too, because he's been calling out Jose Aldo for years.
Yeah.
He wants that fight. He wants that fight probably
I
more
would
than
love
anything.
that fight.
Although who would you put him up against now? Khabib?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's
the fight
probably
really
what makes
see.
the most sense.
Melendez could put him on his back, okay, even for the first round. And what's his name? Clay Guida had him on his back and won a decision. And I don't think, even though he faced a grinder right now in Melendez, I don't think no one has the wrestling and the grinding ability to like grind out a win as much as Nurmagomedov.
That's funny because I think Anthony Pettis tweeted or said already that he'll take Khabib now.
Oh, Khabib
he called him out
at the post-fight conference.
Oh, did he? I didn't miss it. It's happening. It's on.
It's crazy.
And then there was one.
One. I'm a little upset about this one.
Hendricks
Not gonna lie.
Round 6 through 10.
Listen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about this for a minute. Yeah.
Johny Bigg Rigg Hendricks versus Ruthless Robbie Lawler. Robbie won via split decision. I scored every round after already knowing the results. So I was unbiased. I was like, I'm going to score each round specifically.
Let's make sure that the judges' scorecards were 48-47, 47-48, and 49-46
for Lawler.
Yeah, again, two for the casual fans out there. 2 judges scored it for Lawler. 1 scored it for Johny Hendricks. And it was pretty much quite close down the middle, about 3 rounds to 2. In each direction, and then somebody scored it 49-46, so that's 4 rounds to 1 for Lawler.
And they specifically scored round 2 for Lawler. That specific judge scored round 1, round 2, round 4, and round 5 for Lawler.
I didn't see that match.
You have to wonder sometimes what fight these judges are watching.
Yeah, and this is one that is going to be. This is a great case study for anybody that. And in fact, I think the duo, these 2 matches maybe, and surely there's going to be a third one now, a rubber match, are great case studies for how to score. In judging criteria and what we need to change. What people are thinking in general, because there are so many different ways that you could interpret this specific match.
Me and you had an argument when we were watching it about the different ways to score it. You were saying, oh, but he's controlling him, and I was saying, well, but Robbie Lawler's doing more damage with the knees against the cage, just that first round.
Yeah, that first round.
But there's so many ways to look at it. There's so many aspects of scoring, and there's so many gray areas, as we know, still, the scoring system.
Let's break down one by one real quickly. How do we think that... Or how we scored it maybe, and then we can reflect to the judges. I gave it first viewing. I came up with I gave it to Hendricks 5 rounds to none. I would have given him 50-45, and I could defend that. The reason being that each round, I gave Johny each round. Obviously, you have to score each round separately. You can't let whatever happened in the previous rounds affect the round that you're scoring. That one needs to be done separately. Johny, the first round was really close. I gave it to Johny 10-9 for him controlling for the most part. Robbie had a fantastic flurry in that first minute, and that could have been the match practically. And
I disagreed, and I scored it 10-9 for Robbie because although Robbie was against the cage for some of the round by Johny, Johny wasn't doing anything effective, and Robbie was kneeing him time after time again. He was the aggressor, even if he's from his back. I mean, mixed martial arts is really adapting into a very sophisticated world, and we really have to adapt with it. And giving that point, I say that Robbie was the guy that was in control.
I agree. That's a good point. I pointed, or I gave Lawler the round because of that early flurry. So I think the rest of the round was more Hendricks just trying to catch up.
Exactly.
But I don't think he caught up enough to get the round. So that's why I gave Lawler the first round.
He was on the comeback the rest of the round. Like, I got to get back up. But
that's why I gave Lawler round 1.
I disagree with that criteria, but I would agree on second viewing of Lawler. He was busier off the cage. Hendricks was not for most of that round. But when you're talking about 1 minute of a guy dominating versus 4 minutes of a guy controlling the match, that's where you talk about quantity of the damage versus quality.
Then you have to have damage into play.
True, but controlling and doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
Well, obviously he was working for. It's not like
what was he
he's a
working for?
Because I agree. Because
What was he working for?
Was he for the double?
Was he working for a finish?
Because I think he and I think I know where you're coming from. Where he grabbed him, and it was almost as if he was just trying to prevent strikes, as opposed to trying to actually be on the offense.
When you're working for a takedown, you're trying to get the ankle pick. You're grabbing the other ankle. You're going for the other leg. You're driving your hips in more and your shoulder in more, and you're looking for the head pressure. There was none of that. It was just sitting there.
Yeah, he was grabbing him, and he wasn't able to strike, or Lawler was, but Hendricks wasn't exactly
agreeing with that, though. Robbie wasn't necessarily working for a finish either. He wasn't trying to get out of there. He was throwing knees, and those could have finished. But it's not like he was actively trying to escape or really go for that knockout shot.
Go ahead, John.
But if he wanted if he wanted to stay in that position, you kind of have to address establishing yourself before you can really open up to finish. Because if you don't, when you go to open up, boom, you're on your butt.
Exactly what I said.
Whereas Hendricks, he, like you said, was kind of just avoiding shots. Not really, if he was working for the takedown, but if he was really working for the takedown, he would have been switching single, double, clinch. He would have been working.
Yeah. On second viewing, I can see it going to Robbie as well. Like I said, it was close.
Robbie was in a position where, like Johnny said, there was more at stake for Robbie. For Robbie to just pull out and do something, ridiculous, he would have gotten his back taken, he would have gotten his ass swept out, and he would have been on the floor. There was too much at stake. Robbie was looking for the right moment to come out at the right time. He was doing what I think a coach would be coaching him to do.
Shot, just like he's waiting and looking for a shot, just like Johnny was.
I disagree.
Looking for and
that's where the gray area lies.
Exactly.
It's a matter of opinion.
Totally agreed.
Exactly. It's still a judging sport.
Yeah, round 2 I also thought was really close. What did you guys think in general?
I thought that was all Hendricks.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%
I give it to Hendricks. That's why I'm very baffled on how the judge saw they giving it to Lawler round 2.
Blows my mind. My mind.
Lawler had a head kick early in round 2.
And that's what it was. A couple fancy kicks here and there, and they were beautiful. And they were, like I said, they were fancy. They might have been more showy than what Hendricks was doing. Hendricks did more damage. Hendricks landed more effective strikes, not just patty cake strikes, more effective strikes.
Yeah. Again, this was another one where Hendricks had Lawler against the cage, and they were working for that position. That was so prevalent throughout the whole match. I have here that Johnny and Robbie both were throwing a slugfest after Robbie escaped.
But the difference is that I don't know if it was because Robbie got tired or if Robbie took a different mentality with it. But this time against the cage, he wasn't so active. And that's where I see it as, okay, it's a 50-50 position, but you give it to Hendricks because it is a dominant position.
Right.
Because Robbie's not doing anything. What do you guys think?
I feel the same way. I mean, it's hard. The whole judging by round, for me, it's like, I kind of like, not to go back to pride, but just judging the fight.
Look at the fight,
Look at the fight. When you break it down round by round, it does get a little confusing, and it breaks it up a little too much, whereas, like, who won the fight? That's what we really want to know.
Right, but sometimes with that mentality, the judges say, oh my God, Robbie Lawler almost finished him in the last 10 seconds. He won the fight. That's it. Robbie's the winner.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to see, but that's why...
what happened in round 5, in my opinion.
But that's why boxing is sometimes more accurate because there's so many rounds. So the guy with the majority rounds wins the fight, and it's usually pretty accurate.
Yeah, I always equate it to like a caterpillar or a centipede versus a millipede. Here's what it is. Because you have more legs on that animal, there's more support. If you take one out, 1 or 2, that thing can still keep walking.
Yeah.
But if it's a spider or a bear or something with only 2, you take out 2 legs, that thing is flopping,
But
so
I like
the
that,
more
Jeff.
rounds you have, the better. The better control you'll have in judging the whole match. I agree.
Right.
We could go off on how the judging should be judging and scoring should be changed. Round 3, however, sticking with the match, we all agree that was Hendricks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thankfully, the judges agreed too.
Thank God.
Because the judges all scored Lawler for round 1. Okay, cool. Round 2, again, controversial. That's what I don't see, but everybody gave Hendricks round 3. Now, for being at least somewhat consistent.
There is hope for world peace.
And then round 4.
Being consistently bad is consistent.
Now, before the show, I was talking. You heard me say I gave Lawler round 4. Then I hear a voice. How did you give Lawler round 4?
Whose voice was that? That was a southern accent. That wasn't my Jersey accent. I hope you're not saying that.
No, that was my mother.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Whoa, underlying issues here.
Jesus.
I have a little insecurity when it comes to George.
In what way?
You attacking me and mimicking my Jersey accent. That was what I thought it was.
That wasn't even close.
Yeah, I do it out of love.
Does your mom have a Southern accent?
How did your mom score round 4? That's what I want to know.
My mother actually scored it to Lawler.
Gave it to Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Did she give it to Lawler?
No. Oh, yeah, she gave it to Lawler. I don't know. She's in Peru right now. So, yeah, that's how loud she is. But, yeah, I gave it to Lawler. But I know you gave Hendricks round 4.
Funny. Yeah, back to bacon, as Jay would say. Yeah, I gave Johnny round 4.
Why?
Because he won it.
Because?
No, I'm just kidding. Same thing. Cage dominance, more effective striking, overall control.
But I think that's when we really started to see the head between the legs. And, of course, after the post-fight, everybody's saying, Dana White, Bisping, everybody, you can't win a fight when your head is between the guy's legs.
Yeah.
No.
By just controlling him clinch against the cage.
Yeah, and again, like I said earlier, it's just pretty much him not preventing Lawler from kicking.
Yeah.
And, of course, what are you going to do? Lawler,
I just feel like if I was Lawler's coach in that position, like when the ref's saying work, boys, that was seriously a situation where it was like, come, this is a title fight.
Someone's got to get a little crafty and do something, but at the same time, I mean, there's a lot on the line there. And,
but Hendricks literally was not moving. Like, he literally wasn't moving.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't see.
I don't remember round 4 as much as I remember the other rounds.
It was more of the same.
Yeah, it got a little lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
There was no advancement. Johnny would get that cage clinch again. Robbie would get up. Robbie pressured him and threw some flurries.
Right.
And I believe landed a few. Or no, Robbie punches on top at the end.
Yeah, he spent the whole time looking for his contact.
Yeah. But I didn't. I think some people did give it to Robbie. Obviously, the judges did. To me, that was Hendricks still.
One of the judges actually gave Hendricks round 4.
Is that so?
Yeah.
One of them.
The first one, the one that scored Hendricks 48-47, gave Hendricks round 2, 3, and 4.
I think rounds 1 and 5 are probably going to prove to be the most controversial of the whole match, and 5 definitely was. Johnny working for takedowns again. Referee Herb Dean seemed to break them up a lot more towards the latter half of the match, knowing that it wasn't going to go anywhere. And it was rinse, wash, repeat. They were on the ground in the latter, I think, minute and a half of the match. Lawler was throwing shots from on top. They looked hard, but you couldn't really tell that they were doing much to Johnny because you couldn't see his face.
No, they did sound hard too.
They
sounded pretty hard.
My thing with round 5 is that the first 4 minutes of round 5, I would have scored like a 10 and a 9.75. For Hendricks. Okay. He was winning it by a little hair, which if it would have continued that way, I would have given him the whole round because he won it by a hair. And then that last minute took this to this. And that's what you needed in those last couple minutes, and Lawler did it.
This one especially is a fair analysis, I think, of that whole quantity versus quality thing. Johnny is controlling it for most of the round, but that last minute and a half, which is a minority of the full length of the round,
right?
Robbie put it on him hard.
Oh yeah.
I would have been more convinced if we'd seen Johnny drop on one of those, but we didn't, So it's kind of hard to tell in the heat of the moment. He's wobbly. Is he on spaghetti legs or not? But apparently
he was under fire, but he was never in danger.
That's what I'm saying. And if he's not that much in danger,
right,
those 4 minutes should count for something, which is why I could argue giving him.
But at the same time, a guy can win the round by finishing a takedown at the end of the round because that's the last thing the judges remember, but does nothing with it.
Steal the takedown. That's not fair.
Gets the takedown, hold him down, wait for the round to end. Yeah. Was he in any danger? No. He had landed on his butt. We're fighting as part of the game. Yeah. But you can win the round with it.
Altair, did you think he was rocked there at the end of the 5th? What did you think?
I think he was gassed out too. So
he
looked like he was wobbly because of the punches, but I don't think he was going getting knocked out or anything.
No, you don't think if there was 20 more seconds, Lawler could have pulled off the
No, he wouldn't have done it for 20 more seconds.
Right, that's true. That's true.
It's funny because
he heard 10 seconds left and he's like, ah.
I know. Usually when that happens,
you should have fought the whole fight like that.
Yeah, exactly. I was saying the same thing. But usually when that happens, I'm thinking Lawler probably thought he was losing. Or else he probably would have coasted a little bit.
Well, you heard his corner in round 4. It could have been a ploy to keep his head in the game. It could have been whatever you want to say. But they said, as far as I see it, you're losing right now. Go win. And that's what you should say to your fighter before you go out to a round like that. Because without that mentality, if he could have thought he would have just coasted through that round and maybe won still, that would have been the wrong mindset. So I'm glad he went out there and proved the 5th round at least.
Yeah. You can tell he still wanted to fight after that bell rang.
Yeah.
Seemed kind of
now the fire was under his ass.
Right. Yeah. Where was Lawler?
A second too late. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen him do that in a couple more of the rounds. Maybe he didn't think. I think it's mental. I think he maybe thought, oh, my gas tank can't handle that in round 3, but in round 5 with 10 seconds left, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's mind over matter, and he saved it for the end.
Which is why it's tough for me to, in some ways, it's tough for me to want to see a 3rd match.
A trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like the first match we saw, Hendricks won it, and I think very few people debated that one. This one, here's the thing that frustrates me with Robbie. And if you're watching Robbie, I really am thrilled for his win. For a long career that he's had, it's nice to see him
I'm glad it was wrapped around his waist.
Exactly, yeah.
I kind of wanted him to take it, not have it given to him.
Old Robbie Lawler, just this Robbie Lawler, you know? I'm sorry
really
for
good,
the people
Jay.
listening on iTunes, which apparently is most of them. You know, you couldn't visualize that, but, you know, this, that, and nonstop for 25 minutes. Yeah. How bad must it sound, do you think, on iTunes? Anyway, tell us on YouTube. Leave comments, or leave comments on iTunes for that matter. But that Robbie Lawler, nonstop punches, swinging for the fences, and accuracy, landing it on a dude's dome, and then kicks galore, high kicks, leg kicks to chop this guy and hurt him. Some old Melvin Manhoff stuff, you know what I mean?
It tells us that Robbie has it. He has that power and
Robbie
ability.
lost to Melvin. That's why I mentioned that.
Yeah, because Melvin Manhoff lost his last fight.
No, the Robbie and Melvin, that was a sweet one.
Yeah.
Is it really?
That's a great fight.
Is it really America's top team's first title ever?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hard to believe. Now, Thiago Alves Pitbull was close to it, and then he had those injuries, and you know, now he's making his way back. Hector Lombard is up there. I love Hector.
Is he?
He is.
Is he really up there?
Yes.
Come on, this ain't Bellator. No disrespect. No disrespect. I love Hector.
No, you could say.
I would love to see him have the performances he had.
I agree with that. Yeah, it'd be nice to see the Hector again, like the Robbie that we saw in Strikeforce and early UFC. And
I'm still a fan.
Yeah, agreed. I'm still a fan as well. Maybe I'm being unfair in wanting this because as time goes on, it gets harder to step up to the plate like that. You don't have as much wind in your sprint, gas in the tank. But yeah, if we could see the Hector Lombard previously from a couple of years ago in the UFC, oh shucks,
that guy just
puts a whole other twist on middleweight.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Or in this case, he's at 170.
And Tyrone Woodley as well.
Yeah.
They're teammates that. Hector wanted to fight him, but Tyrone wouldn't. That was funny.
I can see that. Hector seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah. Oh, he is. I trained with Hector for like a year, and he didn't speak much, but when he did, he spoke his mind. He's very, very opinionated and very just, he believes in what he believes, and that's it. And American Top, he's really a leader at American Top Team.
Really?
You know, oh yeah, especially the headquarters in Coconut Creek. He was the guy. It was his gym and Thiago Alves' gym at the time when I was there because Thiago was really on it.
He had priority above everyone else, or was he more of a leader that actually?
He was a leader, and you know, he in the gym he was a standout. You know what I mean? Like I remember, I would go and watch the pros spar, and it was really cool. And he was a standout. He was amazing, and he was a workhorse. He was always in the gym. Yeah. So I think in that way he stood out. But he's just always been a great fighter and a tenacious fighter. Someone interesting to watch fight, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, but ATT's first ever champion, which is awesome. But it's
possibly
interesting.
From the UFC.
Yeah. In the
possibly
UFC.
the first Filipino champion in the UFC as well.
Oh, that's a good point.
Robbie is part Filipino.
That's a good point. I don't know.
With a country boy accent.
That's something.
How do you see this going? Like, as Robbie now has a belt and it's from ATT.
Yeah.
You have Hector, you have Thiago, you have you just said Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
All from the same camp, same weight class.
It's
be interesting in sparring.
It will be interesting in sparring. I don't think Robbie doesn't train in Coconut Creek. I don't think the main headquarters. I think he's more
spends a lot of his time with Matt Hughes.
Yeah, I think he's at the other camps more. But Hector and Thiago are definitely at the same camp all the time. And Tyron Woodley's not in Florida ever, I don't think. He's mostly in one of their Midwest locations. So the two that are closest is Thiago Alves and Hector. And I don't think they're going to fight anytime soon. But Hector would take any fight. I don't think he's saying no to anything anytime soon.
So much for iron sharpens iron then, I guess. Those sparring rounds.
So would you do a trilogy, or Would you do?
I think you have to.
Yeah, I think you have to.
No, not
Yeah.
eventually. I'm talking about the next fight.
A 1-round trilogy?
Do you give it to
Sudden death. How about that? Just until one guy drops. First guy drops.
Yeah.
Then you'll get that Robbie for 4.5, 5 minutes.
You're right.
Maybe
yeah.
that's what we got to do then.
It's never gonna happen. I mean, I'm in La La Land right now, but
I don't
it's
think you do it
interesting.
the next fight though.
So you give it to Rory.
Give it to Rory McDonald. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Robbie Lawler already beat Rory McDonald. I don't want to see that.
Well, too bad.
You know what? I'm
It's
for
what's
Hey,
mixing
if
up a
he
bit.
earns it, though.
Yeah, I mean
He's come a long way
It's
since
just
then.
weird because, like I said, just a year ago, Rory lost to Robbie Lawler. So I mean, it's.
Yeah.
What, pull up the rankings here. Where are we talking
but
about?
at the end of the day, nothing else really makes sense.
Nothing else does make sense. I do not want to see a trilogy right now. The 1 and 2 have already been back to back.
Yeah.
They had no fights between the two of
Tyrone
these.
Woodley is fighting Kelvin Gastelum. Condit
I'm excited for that
Condit
fight.
hopefully comes back soon, but I wouldn't give him a title shot immediately.
No.
Right.
Who's next?
Well, marketing-wise, you never know. They might pull that guy out of NASCAR or something, throw him in there.
And isn't that a segue?
Isn't that a segue? Johnny Robles.
Title fight for somebody that with no fighting skills, you're saying, and coming
I
into
think
the
he's
UFC?
referring to the new news about CM Punk taking on to the UFC.
That was the other thing is this whole card, we're chock full. This was chunky, as
It
I like to
was.
say, with
Also,
news for us
It
to
was
talk
all
about.
over social media.
all
Like
over.
it, literally.
You
the
say
only way
Kim
I found out
Kardashian
about
broke
it.
the internet? I think that CM Punk broke the internet.
Because he's been in a lot of news. I mean, this is,
He lit a pipe bomb with the
I know this is a
internet.
UFC
Yeah.
show, but he's been in a lot of people's news because of the last week. It was like the first time he talked since he left the WWE.
Which I'm sure was intentional.
But it's funny because like now it's like, let's see, now he's becoming relevant again. Oh wow, he just signed for the UFC. That's why he started, doing
Exactly,
the podcasting and everything. So
CM Punk,
but
guys,
according to him,
signed to the UFC. Joe Rogan announced it right after the first prelim of the night, I believe, or the first main card of the night. He announced that CM Punk was now going to fight in the UFC. CM Punk seemed super excited, super dedicated. He was like, I don't care if I go in there and get my ass kicked or if I kick ass. I want to go in there and get in a fight. So
Salesman.
Well, but isn't that the attitude that you should have going in there?
Of course.
Just short of, I'm going to go in there and kick ass and not get my ass kicked. So it's, of course, social media blew up, and the controversy is a pro wrestler from that F word.
fake sport.
That's the F word. Coming into a caged combat to compete in a shoot as opposed to a work. And does he deserve that shot in the UFC? Does he have the right to be in the UFC? Is he going to be any good or not? Etc. These are a lot of the questions that we're talking about.
If I was Dana White or Lorenzo or whoever, yeah, he deserves it. Yeah, he deserves it all day because it's the most genius business decision in the world for them. But if you're asking somebody like these guys who are waiting for their shot in the UFC,
don't ask Ben Askren.
Or Ben Askren.
Oh my goodness!
Who
Someone
took public
made the best comment the other day.
Ben Askren is a really, really high level wrestler who's been waiting for a shot in the UFC. Undefeated, and has not gotten it. And
pretty much won a title everywhere he's been to.
Wasn't signed because, or at least on the surface, the point against him was that, at least I believe Dana and perhaps the matchmakers felt like his matches were boring. But known for lay and pray reputation, take guys down and pound on them. I think it's still pretty fun to watch Ben Askren. I like him as a character.
I like Ben
personality.
Askren. Yeah. I mean, but I think especially with the UFC, they should be the place where all the best fighters in the world are.
Yes.
Well, they are. I mean, you take a look at these guys that come over and don't get the job done.
Yeah, so I'm saying that's why I think somebody like Ben Askren at least deserves a shot.
Right.
At least.
But the question is, though, or the query rather, Ben Askren is Ben Askren. CM Punk is a media name that TMZ will cover in a heartbeat. Ben Askren, that's not the case.
It helps mainstream UFC and MMA. Just like
that's the argument, yeah.
Right. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's what the argument is. Just like the new uniform deal, if you guys haven't heard, the UFC signed a uniform deal with Reebok. A big deal. It was the biggest, I think it was $700 million deal or something like that.
70.
70. Oh, 70. I just added a zero.
70.
Holy
$70 million deal. It's the biggest deal the UFC has made that is not having to do with TV broadcast.
Yeah.
It now only allows fighters to wear Reebok during the matches, and
as of July 2015.
July 26, 2015.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I still want to get back and address the CM Punk thing, because I think what's really interesting is the perspective of fighters coming up saying, this guy doesn't have any credentials. He's never fought amateur. He's never fought on a regional circuit.
Right.
He might be at most a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
He said he's been training jiu-jitsu for a very long time.
That's
with the
very nice.
brothers.
Yeah, off and on, and so have I. But you know, my white belt isn't even the length of dental floss. Okay, I don't qualify for a belt.
It's still having that professional experience. And
I get it.
No, he can be trained. He's been training with jiu-jitsu for the longest. I mean, just because he's a wrestler doesn't mean he wasn't training and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But it's having that professional experience coming up. I guess, you know, fighting and bleeding and everything.
I think it might be a record having your MMA debut in the UFC.
And even as a wrestler, what's his credentials as a wrestler?
I mean, as a wrestler, he was
not real.
As Brock Lesnar, he had a real.
Yeah.
But what about CM Punk? I don't even know.
He doesn't have any.
Well, the cool thing about what you were saying, as far as does he deserve it, we'll find out. Because there's no lying in the cage. The truth always comes out.
I mean, I think from a sport aspect, it does set it back. But from the business aspect or entertainment, it's like, well, how can you say no?
I agree
it's
completely.
It's going to give you buy rates, ratings, whatever it is.
Because you're Dana White and you said no to so many other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. I mean, he said no to Kurt Angle, come to think of it. He offered Angle, at least according to Dana, a spot
I just don't get the move.
On Ultimate Fighter.
From a financial or a marketing, I get it. You know, whatever.
But that's it, though.
Do you guys feel?
Yeah, but I mean, give me a break.
The WWE community is a large community.
It's not even about you got us, we're struggling, or you know, working so hard to get there. It's not even about me. It's about the sport. It's about where are you really trying to go with things?
The legitimacy of the sport.
Do you think that this one CM Punk match, or let's say 2 or 3, just the opportunity of him fighting, do you think that sets the sport back?
I don't. I think it's going to take a devastating, way more.
A loss, or
I mean, set it back. No, because you got people that want to see that.
Right.
You got people that are going to pay for it. It's never going to really do bad.
I don't think people are going to stop watching because of that one guy.
I agree.
You know?
What happens? It might be a fad or it might not.
Yeah.
It'll fade away or it'll stay.
Yeah.
Like I said, the truth will come out.
Yeah.
So either he's gonna earn his spot or he's not, and he's gonna disappear like a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like bad publicity. It's still publicity. I think no matter what, as far as ratings and money go, it's going to only do good.
Is this the UFC's sex tape?
I mean,
kinda. That's actually a good way to turn it.
You're darn right about that.
It's like the UFC sex tape.
Yeah.
It's quite the scandal, and it's a little, they're showing their ass a little bit by doing it, but it's going to get them what they need.
I mean, much like Chael Sonnen was, and of course, I'm not comparing the athletic credibility of Chael Sonnen and CM Punk.
Yeah, right.
You take that away, and they're practically the same. Because if there's one thing from CM Punk, that guy can talk. So if they're looking for that kind of character, then there you go. But
I'm
it
sure
just
that they've
happens to be
studied each other, in fact, when it comes to promos.
Maybe it'll light a fire under the ass of some of the competitors in the UFC now. Like, hey, that WWE guy's coming in here and taking over because he can talk. Maybe I should learn how to talk. Maybe I should be a Conor McGregor.
Maybe I should just shut him up.
Who else has been saying that for a long time, guys?
But that's pretty much it.
The 3 of us here.
Chael Sonnen got the job done. He talked and he got the job done.
Yes, he did.
I mean, the guy came off a loss.
All but 2 times.
Yeah. I mean, Chael Sonnen came off a loss. He came off a loss, and he still got a title shot on his next fight.
Yeah.
So,
in the end, we are entertainers.
Yeah.
I mean, not just with your fighting, but if you don't have a personality, no one wants to watch you.
Yeah.
Like you said, Conor McGregor.
But be yourself and be. If that's what you're going to be it, and be yourself and be true to it, because you are an entertainer. You do have to. People are coming to watch you. They're getting away from whatever it is in their daily life to be entertained by you.
I want to cut to we're given limited time. I want us. We should touch on the uniforms, but maybe even possibly a longer conversation next time. Let's talk about you guys.
Absolutely.
As guys that are coming up through a tried and true, proven system here. Both of you guys fought on Friday in Costa Mesa. It was RFA 21 was the event. Didn't quite go your ways, but both of you guys, I mean, really are earmarked, as some people have talked about. That the voices, voices in the garden, as it were, saying that. I think I just coined a new phrase. But there's eyes on both of you guys, as being potential people to go through that system to the show. Talk about the experience and where you guys are, and especially coming off all these huge headlines with the UFC. How does that affect you guys, or how do you think that it will affect you guys? It's something to adjust to, obviously.
Well, just talking about the fights on RFA 21, I feel like it was a great opportunity fighting on such a big show like that, but I don't think I lost my fight.
Yeah. You had a very close fight.
It didn't go my way. It was very close.
Yeah.
But I had the judges, the commentators had me winning on TV. I had people had me winning on Twitter. You were there.
I had him winning.
It was majority win, which means one judge saw it as a draw. Two guys voted for your opponent, Sam Toomer.
So I already looked the fight over and over again. I'm trying to figure out what happened. And like Pat Miletich said, I don't know what the judges are looking at. I'm trying to figure that out.
To fill you guys in a little bit, his fight was a war. I had him winning every single round up until the end, and at the end his opponent Sam Toomer really just kind of came out of nowhere and
pulled a Robbie Lawler,
and it looked as if, I'm not saying this is true, it looked as if he almost was going to finish you. Your hands kind of dropped at the end, and it was very close, and then the bell rang. And then, of course, in my mind, I was like, oh, but, don't worry, Altair still won it. It was just one round that guy had, and then all of a sudden the judges scored a majority decision for your opponent. So, needless to say, at that level, I think when you're there and you have a fight like that, I think the promoters and everybody watching sees a good fight. They don't see the win or the loss.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot to be proud of, man. It was a very entertaining fight, and it was a pleasure to watch.
What does it feel? Let me ask you. So, fighting for the RFA, was that your first time fighting for the RFA?
No, the second.
Second time.
Yeah, the other one I tore my ligament.
Oh,
not
injury.
fun either.
Was that your first one back since the injury?
Yes.
So, fighting for an organization that's publicly known to be a feeder system to the UFC, do you feel like you're on a path where if you keep fighting for them and you keep proving yourself, you could be soon in the UFC? What do you think that timeline is for you?
Yes, I think so, and I felt the same way when I was still fighting in Brazil, because I was fighting for Jungle Fight, which is our biggest promotion there.
Right, absolutely.
And from there, I came here, and I was really thinking that if I won this fight against a kid as tough as Sam Toomer is, and he is still undefeated, I really thought in my mind, well, maybe if I win, I beat this kid, I might get the title shot against Justin Lawrence, and then from there, maybe UFC.
UFC was
so in my
future.
mind, it was like a really near future.
One more thing, and then we'll get to you, Johnny. How was it having people like Lyoto Machida, Kenny Johnson, and Pedro Munoz in your corner?
It was amazing, but most people don't even know. I trained with Lyoto for years in Brazil. Even before he came here, I came here through him. That's why I trained Black House with him.
Back in the mid-2000s?
Yes.
Nice.
And I used to train with Pedro in mid-2000s too. When he came here, we used to train together before he got famous here, before he fought in RFA.
Right.
We were already friends. And same with Kenny. We were training every time I came here for the past 5 years.
And there was a lovely lady in the crowd just there to see you. Miss Chris Cyborg.
Cyborg.
She is a women's MMA legend. I'm sure all of you know. She, quote unquote, says she retired Gina Carano. So it was very cool to talk to her and have her say, "Oh, I'm here to see Altair."
Yeah, we've got that video coming up pretty soon. Several one-on-one interviews that we caught, and we'll be posting them on the YouTube channel before too long.
Definitely. So you have a lot of support, obviously, in the SoCal area. Mr. Johnny Robles, you train at a gym with Pedro Munoz as well. He's at Systems Training Center. You train with coaches Ian Harris, and Marcus Cowell is the owner of that gym as well. What did you do to prepare for this fight? Did you do anything differently? Did you go on any trips anywhere?
I was in Sacramento training with a good friend Uriah Faber, and the whole stable of very hungry guys up there. And, I felt prepared for this fight.
Right.
There's no excuses for the way it turned out, but I always work hard, whether it be at home, whether it be in Albuquerque. But this time I decided to do something a little different. I was facing a wrestler. I wanted to go up and surround myself with good wrestlers, and that's what I did. I was very prepared for this fight. It just a small little adjustment I have to make in the gym. I'm addressing that with my staff and my teammates, and myself as well, because that's where it really starts, and moving forward.
Okay.
What was it like training up there, working with those guys?
Amazing. As far as the training itself, hard work and positivity, and just guys all around that have great wrestling, great striking, and they opened their arms to me. It was very, it was a very good feeling, and I appreciate everything I got up there. And then outside the gym, it's just like the gym's here. You got a good group of friends, and you have fun, and yeah, it was a great experience. I'm very
Absolutely.
lucky.
You took to social media shortly after your fight, writing a very, in my opinion, mature at the moment message, saying that you were keeping your positive hopes up, you were keeping your positive spirits, and that you were realizing how many great people you were surrounded by in this moment, and what a great team you have and what great coaches you have. I think that speaks volumes, especially someone at your level. You're on your rise, and you don't want to see anything as a pushback, and I don't think it was for you. I think, if anything, we were talking earlier, it's a learning experience. You want to come out with your game plan next time and implement your game plan, and I think your positivity speaks volumes.
Thank you. This last year has been nothing but learning experiences.
Right.
For those that don't know, I'm coming off 3 losses in a row, but when you say losses in a row, it comes off kind of harsh, and it seems
worse than
bad.
It actually is.
It seems a lot worse than it is, because for me, I really had to assess where I am with things over each camp, each loss, or each lesson. And for me, it's tough because I know I'm growing and getting better as a fighter. If I was getting worse and losing to guys that I didn't deserve to lose to, I'd really have some issues to deal with. But I'm getting better as a fighter. I'm growing. And I only see going up as far as my potential and my abilities and where I really want to go with this sport. The losses, I fought the first one. I fought a former teammate and friend. I had to adapt. I had to learn on the go with that one. The last fight, it was going according to plan. I had the guy almost done in under a minute, and he was on his butt.
That was a great fight.
I dropped him.
Yeah.
Everything went to plan, and I made one simple mistake, and he was on autopilot and threw up an armbar, and he got it. I made a simple mistake. This last fight, I'm addressing it. I have to learn to trust my instincts. In that cage, just like how I lost my fight in a split second, I was winning it, had it in the bag. Here, you can't, there's no room for error, and you can't be making judgments on the fly. You have to have a game plan, stick with it, and trust your instincts. And I learned that, right away, that I got to trust my instincts when I'm in there, because in the end, I have to live and die by my decisions. Yeah. So when I'm in there, I got to just go with it and do what I feel and address, whatever the results are later. It's
team preparation, but you're the one that's you're the one that's in there doing that stuff in the cage yourself. Yeah,
definitely.
What impressed me is the night after, or rather the morning afterwards. We cover this event, go home, and you guys are at the after party or whatever. I know I crash out to bed, wake up the next morning, my usual time. The first thing I always do is go to the phone and scroll through some social media. Johnny is already out at like Runyon Canyon or something, and taking Instagram like, I'm not gonna let this stop me. I'm sitting here wiping the crust from my eyes, going, oh, jeez, man, come on. My life is bad enough looking myself in the mirror, but you just gotta rub it in. So you beat me, that's for sure.
It is pretty insane. Yeah, both of you have such great mentalities going forward, and I think you both have that champion mentality, which is why you're fighting like organizations for RFA at this point.
Thank you.
And I think
I have to say thank you to the people around me. My coaches, my teammates, my family, my friends, my sponsors, people that support me, but especially the people that have brought me up. Like guys like Uriah, guys like Clay Guida, and the guys we have at the gym, Pedro, Christos Giagos. We feed off of and inspire each other on a daily basis. Terrion Ware, Dmitry Gerasimov. Dmitry said it last night. I'm coming off some losses. He's coming off a loss. Christos, had a performance that didn't necessarily reflect how great of a fighter he is. And apparently Christos said the other day, we rise and fall together. Yeah. And that's what we're looking at for this next year. And like I said, I'm very blessed to do what I do. When you think about it, we're doing something that a lot of people either wish they could do or they just watch and admire it. And I'm proud to be a part of that, in a healthy sense. So I really, I have some things I got to work on, but we all do.
Right.
So I'm going to address those in the gym, and I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to get where I want to be.
Any idea when you guys would estimate to come back, getting back in the cage?
I'm on a suspension because of my stitches, but all I got to do is get them out and get cleared.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I was on the bike path yesterday enjoying the sun. I love being outdoors. So I was back on the bike path yesterday. I was at the gym this morning, and I'll be there in the morning tomorrow.
What about you, Altair?
I got a 45-day suspension because of a hard fight. Since I'm injury-free except for my shins. And I have to go back to Brazil, fix my visa, be right back, and as soon as they call me, I'll be ready.
Big
Awesome.
time. Nice.
Mentally, I'm ready right now.
You can see this guy's knee shaking.
I know. He's like, where's the fight? I want the next fight. You guys both train with champions. I mean, I train with Johny at Systems Training Center. We have one of the biggest and fastest growing pro-AMI teams in Southern California, I think, training with a lot of guys. Christos Giagos, as you mentioned, now in the UFC, Pedro Munoz, Dima, Terrion, and then you train at Black House MMA with a lot of already champions, but still a big group over there in the SoCal.
And at Systems too.
And at Systems too.
That's how we met.
Yeah, really? Coming in Systems? Yeah, I've seen you in there a couple times, I think. But SoCal is so competitive, especially with, not you guys aren't little, but with your weight classes, 135, 145. He's like, yeah, we're the little guys.
Don't call me fat.
I can't say it, but you can say it. It's so competitive down here.
Yeah.
Uriah favored up in NorCal. So I think you guys are on your way. I think you guys are doing good.
Appreciate it.
Anything left, Jay?
I think that's about it. It's I'm seeing the sign. We should be wrapping it
We're
here.
getting kicked
we do
out.
have a Fox show next week.
We do.
Yeah,
Fox 13.
Which means it's we can't do predictions. Okay.
No AfterBuzz predictions.
Oh.
Now,
Just caught those audio
AfterBuzz
clips.
TV.
Oh, and look at this. Oh, this is guys. Go to YouTube. Go to the YouTube. We got the special effects here. Visual effects.
I told you he's done that.
Yeah, maybe in this studio,
All
but
right,
not recently.
quick round. Alistair Overeem versus Stefan Struve. I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
Alistair over and Stefan Struve. I hope they knock each other out at the same time.
Oh, there you go.
Double knockout. My kind of guy there. Double knockout. What about you?
I got Alistair on this one. I really think so.
Daria?
Alistair.
I'm gonna go Struve.
I'm gonna go Struve as well. I just want to just go with the. Oh, actually, it's 2-2 and then double knockout.
I just want something exciting. That's all I am.
And
A majority. It's a split draw.
I'll go with Overeem.
before we have to go,
Okay, I'll go with Overeem.
did you say yours already?
Oh, you said Struve.
What?
You said Struve?
Yeah.
Okay. And the Ultimate Fighter finale.
We're gonna talk about
Who do you
on
think's going to
Wednesday.
be in it? Who do you think's going to be in it?
We're not gonna talk about it on Wednesday. We
Two
still,
girls.
We still have another.
We
ultimate.
are. We're not going to have them on Wednesday.
Okay, well,
Two
they
girls
can
for
say
sure.
that's them then.
What two girls?
I say Carla and whoever else is
Rose.
left. Rose. Oh, yeah.
Do you know?
There's
Do
also
you follow it?
JoJo and. No?
Just say
He
Carla
says
Rose.
Carla and Rose. Yeah, I say
Yeah,
Carla and Rose too.
Altair agrees. Next fight: Rafael dos Anjos versus Nate Diaz.
Rafael.
Rafael.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love myself some Diaz brothers.
All right. I guess I'll just go with Rafael. And the main event: Junior Dos Santos versus Stipe
Stipe
Miocic.
Miocic.
JDS.
Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
conventionally
Yeah,
speaking
same.
JDS.
They're not gonna go with Stipe Miocic.
Too much of a
I just want,
differential.
like I said, I just want somebody to be right.
All right, we got to get out of here,
Somebody
guys.
will be now, yeah.
Shout out sponsors, social media.
All my sponsors, my friends, family, teammates, you guys, and thank you to Ed Soares and the RFA staff. Appreciate it.
Sam, thanks for the guys at Black House, my teammates at Kings MMA Systems, my family who's back here. They came from Brazil to support me.
Nice.
Oh, that's
and
so nice.
You guys for the
Do you
opportunity.
guys have a Twitter or Instagram?
Yeah, where can we find you?
Instagram's John Robles. We're usually the first one up there. And as far as Twitter, it's John Robles 23.
And my Twitter at Altair Alancar, Altair, and
Alancar, self-explanatory.
Alancar, yeah,
With the C.
with a C.
Yeah.
And same thing on Instagram.
Awesome.
What about you,
Jay
Daria?
George, I go last.
Was that your Instagram handle? My Instagram handle is at G Hermoza. That's GHERMOZA. G Hermoza.
I may actually change my Instagram and Twitter handle to I Go Last. But for now, it's still JTAN716. Mom, I don't care how much of a good idea it sounds like, don't get that tattoo. We're going to continue talking about this, okay?
I hate you.
That's last.
At DariaB28, you can also find me on my new Facebook page, Daria the Jersey Devil Berenato. Fight details coming soon. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Check this out.
Buzz.
Buzz you later.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.